The barn owl is, as known for many, associated with different properties, features, attitudes, beliefs, such as on the positive sides, being a mysterious animal, and also for some people that it's an animal of wisdom. But then on the negative side, which is also more predominating and harmful in a larger sense, is its association with death and also misfortune. Now, I give you a little impression about it, not only in this picture by Swiss artist Alban Kakulia, already putting it nicely in perspective, but we also have a little animation to indicate really what we are talking about. And you are really scared now because this is obviously what happens if you tell such stories. And the barn owl is not the only one. There are other animals of the night who join all sorts of witches in haunted castles somewhere, such also as the black cat and the bat. Now, all these stories, they are not coming just from somewhere. They are not dropping randomly from the sky, but they have been created by humans through storytelling, through creative imagination. And this is also what we want to talk a little bit about it later on. Now, the point is that with these negative beliefs and attitudes, we are in conflict with other goals such as biodiversity, opportunities, efforts to enhance sustainability, conservation. Obviously, irrational beliefs and superstitions are also by default not in line with science and facts, and neither with the implementation of this bird to help agriculture and rodent control, as Alexandre will also talk about it later on more. Now, one can laugh about these superstitions, one can put them aside as a big stupidity or whatever. That doesn't matter. What is important is that they exist and they impact human behavior and decision making, and that concerns us all. Why it's also important to do some research on it and think about them, because it's us humans that created these superstitions. And as we very well know also many of the environmental problems that we have. So we have to join also as humans to find a solution in this regard. But what are superstitions? And this is important where psychology comes in. What are these things? Where are they coming from? How can you explain them? And also what are individual as well as collective factors? And I will touch a little bit upon it. I can't go too much into depth, but giving you already a little bit of flavor. So what we have is something we call pareidolia. This is a tendency that you see pattern in noise here in these flowers. For instance, seeing the face of primates, I'm pretty sure it's very difficult not to see them. Then also here, very good in the current context, as a flower finding its end of its life and just being a face of a skull right in the center. Then the combination of dancing and rain. people being desperate, not having rain, don't knowing what to do. So what they do, they try potentially dancing and hoping that at some point it starts raining, and then quickly people make a link between them and consider as causal relationships. Then a very well-known one is as well, you think about somebody, the person calls you and you say, wow, that can't be a coincidence. I knew that telepathy exists. So this is a storytelling that brings explanations that we can call also irrational beliefs, superstitions, or paranormal beliefs. And this is also what you can apply to the Barnol. One can imagine a person just sitting at the bed in front of a window in the night of a person dying, and looking out of the window, sadly seeing somebody fading away, and sees a Barnol because the Barnol is around in the night, and then making the link between death and illness and the occurrence of the Barnol, and then the link is being created. Now imagine that people see the Barnol in such circumstances alive in front of them. So it's a true visual experience. So you see it with your own eyes. You probably also hear the sound of the Barnol, or the crying, or the sadness of somebody being sick. And then you start to tell it to other people, and you tell it to other people, and yet other people. And then it becomes a story that just goes through huge populations. And at the time, you would tell it your friends and neighbors and friends. And today we have echo chambers, also with the internet, that quickly distribute such information worldwide. And this is also how we can understand that superstitions came about. And the poor Barno suddenly find itself to being a victim, so to say, of superstitions and our persecution, because we are anxious of the bird and its presence. In psychology, I have always been interested in this creation and beliefs and how easy it actually is. And some years ago, we conducted a study at the University of Lausanne. And what we did is we faked a magic trick where we had a magician who played a medium and selected a person randomly, so to say, from the audience. The point is the two people knew each other, so they knew also information about each other's life. But the magician here on the left-hand side was this medium who started to guess more and more or less correct information about the woman's life and deceased father. The father hasn't deceased, but they pretended that it was the case. And it was a very emotional performance. It was very much emotional that some students would also cry, be very sad, but also be hopeful, and others were very happy that it was possible to take contact with a dead person. Now, when we ask people afterwards, how would you explain what you have just seen? We were a little bit flabbergasted, because 65% said that for them, this was actually a proof of a paranormal psychic experience, that it really existed, that they believed this was a medium reading, taking contact with a dead person. Then 24% were unsure, but they were also biased towards considering the possibility that what they have seen was actually a true paranormal experience. Now, if you sum up the two numbers, we are stakingly high. Around 90% of the population, it was about 300 to 400 people in the room, that trusted their own eyes and what they've seen, and explained it as a function of the storyline that was presented. Only 9% said, well, that must have been a magic trick or a performance, conjuring, and then some were just confused. Now, that was for us a really important experience that we did, and we didn't repeat it in the same way anymore, because it was just too simple to convince people about what they've seen. And we started to do many more experiments where we tried to find out, what do we have to tell people in order that they change their attitude or consider alternative explanations. And somehow the frustrating observation was we had to tell them what we have done. We had to really disclose the bottom of the performance and it was set up and so on and so on. Only then people said, okay, I see there are other explanations. But then they said, well, but if there is a true medium, this that still would not apply. So it's really very difficult to change people's belief and attitudes. And that obviously would also be the case. What is at our heart, the animals, and here the birds, and how to change people's attitudes, what is not easy. And to give you some more insight in the kind of experiments we are doing, I now pass over to Maël, who's done many experiments over the years, and I find it more appropriate that he decides. Come on, we change places.
Hello, everyone. So, as Christine told us, there are many signs that we interpret sometimes as symbols of bad luck, of bad omen, of malfunctioning, or devil, of evil creature. And so the question we had was basically, if we take a group of people, who are those people that are most likely to have those strong feelings, especially toward owls? And maybe can we isolate them? Can we understand who they are, what are their ages, what are their gender, and so on, and how we can track those subgroups who hold those strong beliefs against an animal. And so what we did is we created this huge survey called You and the Owl that we distributed in many countries in the world, and where we try to understand what are the feelings, what are the knowledges, and also what are the symbols that are associated, especially regarding owls. And we distributed it in many different countries, in many different languages as well. So people can really talk to us in their native language about those representations of owls. And we were lucky in some places, for instance, in Russia, we started distributing the survey at the same moment when an owl started nesting in the university, and it's created a kind of advertisement for the survey. And so people were more likely to contribute. And it was nice because we got many more people answering the survey and we got many data. And so from those insights, we were able to understand who are the people who hold good, bad, negative, sometimes a bit mixed feelings toward those owls. The good point is that, as you can see in this graph, many people in many countries are quite positive feelings toward owls. So they are not likely to have to threat them with negative conservation behaviors. But we have some countries, for instance, in Africa, Kenya, Zimbabwe, Nigeria, or Togo, where we see also that um, they hold quite strong negative feelings toward owls. And this was not so much a surprise because we know also that in those countries, the beliefs surrounding owls with witchcrafts and so on are still quite prevalent today. So it's not so much a surprise that those cultural beliefs still impact the representation and the feelings we have toward owls. And so with all those information, we were able to track and to profile those people who hold those particularly negative feelings. And the profile is mostly young people under 30 years old that are feeling quite distant to the nature. Maybe they never saw an owl in the wild. They also have no pets and did not see, watched, read the book, the saga Harry Potter, which is quite funny as well. And since it was quite quantitative, we were able to calculate and compute probabilities of reduction of the negative feelings. And it's quite impressive the effect that we were able to see. But what is mostly interesting with all those numbers is that basically we can see an image of an owl with two faces. On the one side, you will see the picture of the owl as an animal with all the natural knowledge that you may have. It can be, okay, it's an animal that kill rodents that live in the forest or close to humans and so on. And you are really picturing the actual biological organism. But on the other on some other times, some you may also need this representation of owl, but maybe you never saw them. You have no or little information about them. And all the information that you have are related to your culture. And sometimes this culture is really negative. It's stories about witches that are sending owls to share messages and so on. And when you rely only on those information, you are more likely to hold those strong negative feelings toward owls. And that's basically what we heard from this huge survey, this kind of tension between two faces, if we can say that, of the animal. And so afterwards, we were trying to understand, okay, but can we maybe change this representation or maybe slightly reduce or moderate its effects? And so I will propose you now a small experiment, and I will present you with three pictures of mice, where I will ask you in your head to think, okay, will I use and will I accept to use this specific individual for a medical experiment? So here's the first picture, the second, and the third. And so basically what we did here is we tried to understand, okay, can we create empathy for a specific animal, for a specific individual? And what we modified here was only the eye size. Why the eye size? Because there is a biological theory called the baby schema that specifies that some feature, morphological feature of the face of an animal may trigger an instant cuteness effect, but also a will for protection. And the hypothesis was, okay, if we modify only one of the feature of the animal, maybe we are able to trigger this cuteness and to reduce the use for medical experiment. And indeed, in the individual with the larger eyes was less likely to be chosen for a medical experiment when compared to the other eye size. And this is a well-known phenomenon because it's the baby schema. So it may explain why we found babies cute, but also it's a good predictor of the choice we make for pets, for instance. We are less likely to choose pets that have those features like cute puppies or kittens and so on. But it's also something that is quite used in movies to create this contact, this closeness with an individual. And it can be something that we can use as conservation practitioner to create those contact and those empathy towards an animal. And also, we were thinking about, okay, but the owl is not the only one with those strong negative feelings. And maybe only changing not the eye size, but the color may have an impact. And so we try to tell different stories to people about an happy cat that were living with a family, and in another, it was with a free-ranging cat that were killing mice and so on. And in this negative condition, people were 6 times more likely to choose the black cats and not another one. So it also tells that those features, maybe also only the color, may trigger some stronger reaction towards an animal. And so we tried to bring everything together and use and mobilize some other psychological theory to create this link with between participants and an animal. And in the first case, what you can see in the video is that we try to use a so-called IKEA effect that just say that when you invest yourself and time into something, it can be a drawing or it can be the creation of a furniture, you will put more value in this really specific artifact. And we try to do that by making participants just draw the image, the picture of an owl or a bat. But we also try to mobilize people by telling them new stories about bats, about owls. And something, and it's kind of anecdotal evidence too, for the last thing for me, is that we also try to say, okay, but sometimes as biologists, we are used to stay only facts and be really factual about animals. But sometimes we also have to put a bit more about ourselves. And I show you this picture of me. It was the first time that I was able to see this really quite rare specific bat in Switzerland. And that's also something that I shared with the public on this very night, saying, okay, that's absolutely amazing. It's the first time I see this species. It's so rare. It's so fascinating opportunity. And I also noticed that participants were engaging with me and sharing these feelings. And I'm quite sure from the discussion I had with them afterwards that they were also measuring the opportunity and the privilege they have. And so sometimes it's also great to create those connections and to show maybe different picture, maybe different stories about those animals. And that's why now I could pass the talk to Alex that will tell us a bit more about that.
Okay, thank you, Maël. Okay, I'm Alexandre Roulin. I'm working with, this is the owl, it's not mine, that's the owl of Christine, who just got as a present. And okay, I give to Christine. Okay, as Maël explained, the idea is to change the mind of people. And this is what we do with owls. Thus, I'm working with barn owls for already 40 years. And we are implicated not only in science, but also in education. And the goal is to propose an alternative to people from this the left side of the brain, gray, factual, very cold, to move towards something which is nicer, to love the owls, just more colors and more good feelings. And you can see here we were in Cyprus working with barn owls, and in Cyprus they as you know, they hunt a lot of birds. Usually they don't like barn owls. Thus our goal is to show the owls to people and also to kids, because kids, they can even touch the owls and they notice that the barn owls are very nice, and they can tell to their parents that we should protect these owls and not to kill them. The barn owl is the ally of the farmers, not the enemy, because each chick eats on average 3-4 mice per 24 hours. And a single family, a big family, can kill every year between 3 to 6,000 rodents. Thus, we should love them, not to hate them. We should protect them, not to kill them. That's what we do. And we do this not only here in Switzerland, but also Love Later does it in Zimbabwe, for instance, fixing nest boxes to attract the barn owls. And she succeeded to convince people that this bird is really a nice bird and doing good job for them. And I will present another project we are doing. By the way, I think Dominique is here, Dominique Berger from the Ornithological Union. What do we say? Ornithological IOU. And what the goal is to produce a bigger group of people using owls or birds as peacemakers. Thus, the idea is to bring people from different communities which are not necessarily in good atmosphere, even sometimes in conflict, and to propose to these people to use birds to solve a problem they have during their daily life. And the problem is the rodents. Thus, the essence of this project is that nature can be a source of conflict, and conflict destroys nature. Thus, we really need to do something all together, whatever where we live, whatever our tradition, whatever our religion. We can work all together to protect nature, sustainability, to promote environmentally friendly agriculture. And these projects that we call Nature Knows No Boundaries, the birds, first of all, they can fly, they can cross the borders without visa, without passport, and they don't know the political borders. And this project is successful because there is no link with tradition, culture, and religion. Thus, people can talk to each other. about something which is neutral or politically neutral and beneficial for them without talking about the things which can create problems among each other. There's the problem are the rodents, many rodents in the fields. The first solution people find usually is chemical warfare. This is a disaster because the rodents, they don't die directly. They still roam on the surface of the fields. And the predators, they eat the poisoned rodents and they accumulate the poison and die. You can see here in the Jordan Valley, an imperial eagle is endangered species who died because of poison. We have to find a solution. And the solution is to fix boxes to attract the barn owls inside so that they can raise their families and eat for free the rodents in the fields. Does the farmers do this? And in the end, they reduce the spread of poison. And this project, the Owls for Peace, Birds as Peacemakers. It started in the Middle East, in Israel. You can see the yellow dots. The farmers fixed 5,000 boxes in Israel. It's crazy, it's amazing, and it's really successful. And you can see that in the West Bank, in the Palestinian Authority, they also have collaborators doing the same, 200, 300 boxes, and in Jordan as well. And it works when you have big families. I remember when I was in the Middle East, we were visiting nest boxes every 200-300 meters, and there was each time a big family of 8-9 chicks. Because they really ate a lot. You see here, it's Czech Republic, a big brood again. And here it works. The gerbiles, that's not us who brought the gerbiles, that's the parents. And when we show this to the farmers, they are really happy to notice that these birds are important. And you see, before the project started in the Middle East, the farmers were spreading more rodenticides, poison to kill the rodents. And after the project started, there was a reduction. The people understood that they have to find an environmentally friendly solution. But it's more than that. It's also this project an inspiration. Here, this is the first picture of barn owl ringed in Israel, breeding with a female ringed in Jordan. It was so amazing that even in the newspapers in Israel, they were showing this case of, if you want, in brackets, a Jewish barn owl breeding with a Muslim barn owl. When we put GPS to look where they hunt, we did it in Israel, and we saw that every night the bird was flying, hunting in the Palestinian Authority, the territories. And you see the bird doesn't need visa, passport to cross every night this place. It seems very simple, but when we show this to people, it makes something in their head, in their heart, and they understand the concept of the borders, the problem with the borders. Okay, that's in Palestine. We have people working on this project still in contact. Just today, by the way, I received a contact from my colleague in Palestine with the report of what he did this year. In Jordan, this is the field officers, as we say, fixing the boxes, controlling the boxes. You see, very happy, very proud of the project. And it's more than just birds. We are all together and we dance, you know. The first guy is from Jordan, then that's me, Jordan, Israeli, Palestine as well, German, and even Indonesia here. Does the owls bring everybody together as we do tonight, this evening, by the way? We are all together. Afternoon, okay, after. And the Palestinian and Israeli and Jordanians meet and they agree. You know, the Israeli guy is very proud to show to that his Palestinian friends or farmers taste the Israeli dates. And this was a situation where I was in a school in Israel with Bedouins and Israeli kids. And they were analyzing the pellets because each pellet is like a Kinder surprise. So you never know which prey is inside with the bones. And the kids were really happy to do this. And when I asked them, what do you do tonight? And they said, I go home, tell my parents we should not kill the barn owl, we should protect because they eat the rodents. Very simple, but very efficient. Okay, it's the €2. You see the banner, the pallets. And you see, in the Arab world, usually the farmers, they are very afraid, or the people are afraid of the banana. I experienced this myself. But very quickly, once we explain them, when we show them the birds, they even take them in their hands. Quite amazing. Thus, we can replace this view of bad luck to good luck. And this project has a good PR, if you want, and we have the support of authorities as well. Thus, our idea is to have a bottom-up project with the farmers on the ground in the field, but also a top-down, to have people from the governments who can help and propagate this idea in their own countries. And here we were with our friends from the Middle East, Jordan, Palestine, and Israel, meeting the Pope and me. And you know, this picture is quite amazing. It was just random. I did not do it on purpose to have the picture of the banner with the Jordanian farmer and an Israeli farmer while greeting the Pope. Okay, thus you see, the idea is to change the mind of the people. We have to touch their hearts. We have to talk about this. We do it in many occasions. Here, this was during the Paris Peace Forum. And this is our project, House for Peace, that we are doing with the International Ornithological Union right now. And we take this opportunity to show you some pictures from Africa. Love letter, Sebele. I just told this to the students just 1 hour ago, the story. I was in Zimbabwe in the museum, Bulawayo, and the guy, the responsible of the museum, he said, you should meet Love letter. I said, okay, I can meet her tomorrow at the hotel. And she came to me, and we're really in good term together. And she was telling me that she was doing a PhD on the banners, ecology and psychology as well, with the people. Amazing. And she published the papers. And 10 years later, when we organized a meeting in Greece with 10, 15 countries, and Ellie was there, by the way, and we were so proud that Love Letter joined us from Zimbabwe. Oh, fantastic. And then Christine met her, and she found a way to finance a bit her activities, very important. And she's so responsive, amazing. You see the people fixing the boxes, going in the fields. And here, this is in Cyprus, on the neutral border between the north and the south, the Greek and the Turks, and with a lady from Pakistan, a guy from Russia, and a guy from Slovakia, and Yossi Leshem and myself. And we want to expand this House for Peace project beyond the Middle East. We continue in the Middle East, but we want to expand. And here, this was last year in Ukraine with Christine, meeting our friends, Tatiana and Leonid, and we are going back this year to expand the project and to make trans-border projects with Poland, Hungary, and Slovakia with Ukraine. In the field in Ukraine with the banners. Okay, thus the message is our goal is to reconcile us with nature and among each other. And it's so important to have an interdisciplinary approach, combining different knowledges, the psychologist and the biologist. Very nice. And I cannot resist to make some publicity, because we write books and we are happy when people read our books. And the first book was translated, The Banal Evolution and Ecology, published in Cambridge University Press. Everything we want to know the banal is more or less inside the book, translated in French, Le Frais des Clochers in German. We wrote a second book with Christine, Ma vie de chouette, is in French. And if you can help us to translate, to have English, the American publisher would be more than happy. And we also wrote with Christine a novel to condemn violence. And this is a novel with a pure fiction based on what we experience in the Middle East, the 88 death in Golders Green. And I think we are...
Probably also that the books are available in a digital version.
Digital version, exactly, the books, yeah. Okay, thank you very much. Ellie, you want that I do a summary or you want to do it? I do it in French for our friends in the French-speaking part of Africa. We are very happy. Nous sommes très, très contents que vous êtes avec nous. Donc, je vais faire un petit résumé très rapidement, hein. Et mes collègues, ils semblent français, hein. Donc, si je dis une bêtise, ils vont revenir. Donc, tout d'abord, ou Christine, tu fais ton résumé?
Non, non, non.
Non? OK. Je vais faire le résumé pour la psychologue. Christine Mohr, elle est professeure à l'Université de Lausanne et elle nous a surtout expliqué les raisons pour lesquelles les gens ont des croyances. Et ce qu'elle a démontré dans ses expériences magnifiques, notamment avec des magiciens, et c'est de montrer que n'importe qui dans la société peut croire à des effets paranormaux. Donc, quelle que soit notre intelligence, notre QI, si vous voulez bien, notre genre, notre nationalité, notre tradition, notre religion, c'est égal. On peut tous commencer à croire en des superstitions, ce qui affecte profondément notre comportement et c'est un problème, notamment pour la conservation de la nature, parce que si on pense qu'un animal nous amène une mauvaise réputation ou la mort, évidemment, on ne va pas les protéger, on va faire l'inverse, on va plutôt les tuer. Donc, c'est très important pour la conservation de la nature de comprendre les mécanismes psychologiques qui font que on n'est pas prêt à les protéger. Et c'est ce que Maël, notre, on peut le dire, doctorant, hein, doctorant là, qui est en train de terminer sa thèse de doctorat, notamment sur les chouettes, les chauves-souris également. Lui, ce qu'il a fait, c'est un questionnaire, en questionnant des gens dans le monde entier, passer 20 000 réponses, 150 pays, et de demander s'ils pensaient, les gens, que les chouettes amènent le malheur ou le bonheur, en quelque sorte, ou si c'est complètement égal, pas d'opinion. Et donc, ce qu'il a pu montrer, étudier, c'est que de trouver les facteurs. Et c'est très important de savoir qui a peur. Parce que si on veut implémenter des mesures de protection de la nature, ça ne sert à rien de les implémenter chez les gens qui sont déjà convaincus par la chose, les gens qui font déjà qui prennent des mesures. Il faut convaincre les gens qui ne sont pas prêts à le faire. Donc, il faut comprendre qui sont les personnes qui sont les plus difficiles à convaincre. Et donc, c'est toute la valeur du travail de Maël. Et pour me concernant, la dernière partie, c'est que basé sur les faits psychologiques, où les gens ont une réalité un peu basée sur du paranormal, des fake news, des nouvelles complètement inventées, c'est de remplacer cette réalité par une réalité beaucoup plus positive. Et pour ça, il faut aller au contact des gens, montrer les oiseaux, leur expliquer des histoires aussi, des anecdotes, et même avoir des projets qui ont de la valeur pour les gens, notamment aider les agriculteurs. Je me souviens d'une anecdote à Ramallah, en Palestine, en Cisjordanie, quand on était avec mon ami palestinien au ministère de l'Agriculture. Le ministère voyait ça d'un très très bon œil, disait, ouais, si vous pouvez faire quelque chose pour aider nos pauvres agriculteurs, on est avec vous. Donc il faut pouvoir les aider et là, les gens vont commencer à les protéger. Et finalement, protéger les chouettes, ça donne un pied dans le monde agricole pour convaincre les gens de faire plus que les chouettes. Mais protéger la nature, protéger les oiseaux. Le micro est-